Hi, I'm Preston Tyree, also known as Ty, and I'm your host for Celebrating Differences. And today I have a very interesting woman who just showed up in my life not too long ago. Louise Dixon. Is that D-S-C-K-S-O-N?
It is.
It is. Okay, not D-I-X.
Oh,
D-S-C-K-S-O-N.
most people get it wrong.
Yeah. And one of the reasons Louise intrigued me, besides she just fit into a group instantly. She walked into a group and there she was, and she was friends with everybody. She is a professional pet sitter. And I got intrigued with that. So we're going to talk about Louise and pet sitting, if you don't mind.
I'll be glad to talk about it.
Great. So let's get some other background. Where'd you grow up, Louise?
Well, I was born in England,
Okay.
grew up in Africa in several different countries, and ended up here in America getting married and having kids.
Wow. How'd you get to America? Why'd you come here?
I came here originally just to, travel and see the world.
Okay.
Got involved with some social work, and I've been here ever since. I love the place.
Wow. So when did you come here?
It would have been 1980, 81 maybe?
Okay, so 40 years ago, 43 years ago. Okay, so you've been here a while.
I've been here a while.
Yeah, I can do.
I'm trying not to lose my accent.
Well, you haven't lost it completely, but it certainly isn't Texas. So tell me a little bit. You come to the United States. You did you get married here?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
And
I got married in New York, and we raised 5 kids out in Oregon on the West Coast. Then we came back to DC and lived around the Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania area for a while. But my daughters both live here in Austin.
oh, great.
And so it makes sense at this point to be closer to grandkids.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. What did you do besides be a mother and a wife?
Well, I was a very proud domestic engineer and early childhood development coordinator.
All right.
Alias full-time mom.
Okay.
You've got 5 kids.
You got 5 kids. It's full time. Yeah.
It doesn't pay to go to work.
Okay.
But I really want to invest in them. I ended up doing preschool at home, and then we did a bit of homeschooling, and I ended up in a Montessori school with the kids, and I was one of the teachers. So we had a really great early few years there before they all went into high school.
All right. So what took you to Seattle?
Seattle, I was out there visiting friends, kind of liked the area. We ended up in Oregon because my husband
you said
got a job
Oregon.
there. Yeah, I was in
That's
Seattle.
not Seattle.
Seattle, Oregon, it's close.
It's close. It's all out there somewhere.
Yeah, and he got a job out there. We stayed there 21 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the kids all went to school there.
Okay.
But once they go to college all over the country and get jobs elsewhere, there's no need to stay.
Yeah. You just choose where you want to
Yeah.
be. And this neighborhood is interesting like that because there are a lot of people here who move to Austin to be close to their kids and grandchildren.
And I've met a couple.
Yeah. And it's we did it the other way. We moved here and they followed us, and now they've all left again. So we're, okay, guys. So yeah. But so you're not living in Austin now?
I've been here since June, and
Okay.
I've been full-time pet sitting since then. And the reason I came is because my daughter's expecting her second child.
Oh, great.
And I wanted to be close, but I didn't want to live in her house. I don't think that's very respectful. And I think I would feel more comfortable being able to just visit.
Okay.
Bring soup over or come and play with a kid once in a while. So that's why I chose pet sitting, because in Austin, lots of people go away during the summer, and boarding is expensive. I don't know if you ever tried, but boarding a dog or an animal for 2, 3, 4 weeks, or in one case 6 weeks, where the lady went off to Sweden and Norway and England and toured around in Europe. So I stayed in her house for 6 weeks and took care of her cat.
Oh, that's so great.
And since then, I've had several other fairly long-term sits, which has been a really great way to be close to my daughter without being on top of her.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we've got a cat, and we're getting ready to go off in October for a week or so. And somebody's got to come in every day, at least twice a day, and take care of cat. So, yeah.
But the website that I found, it's kind of on the genre of Airbnb and Uber and Lyft. It's called trustedhousesitters.com.
Oh, okay.
And the
So
way
it doesn't
you-
say anything about pet sitters. It's
Well,
house sitters.
it's a house sitting, but
Okay.
most of the jobs on there are going to be pets of some
Oh,
sort.
okay.
And you can choose which pets you want to work with. You know, if you like cattle or horses or chickens.
Pets. Okay. This is Texas. Cattle and horses. Okay, yeah.
So I picked cats and small dogs. I figured that would be okay. But it's a great service because the pet sitter will come in, take care of your animals, make sure everything's okay at your house, and you've got tradesmen coming in or a pool guy to manage or whatever. And then they don't pay anything to have their pets in, but I don't pay anything to stay in their home.
Stay at the home, yeah.
So it's a wonderful way to connect socially with, and I've met the most amazing people doing this work.
Yeah, I bet you have.
Yeah.
So how long have you been in Austin on this trip?
This will be my 4th month.
Oh, wow. Okay. Just staying at different houses?
Staying at different
yeah.
houses. I've been in South Austin a couple times. I've been out at Barton Creek on the golf course. I've been all the way up in Georgetown, out in the countryside with the deer. Absolutely gorgeous up there.
Yeah.
And I've been in and around town, east. I've been right downtown in a high-rise with a great view, and some of the little neighborhoods around here.
Okay.
So it's given me a chance to really get to know different neighborhoods and see if I was to stay here long term, which one would I prefer.
What you might prefer. So we have a group called the Wisdom Crew, and we meet Thursdays from 2 to 4 at the local pub. And we looked up and Louise walked in because the person she's pet fitting for said, "You ought to try this." And I was just amazed. She didn't know any of these people, but she just walked in and just got involved, and she was part of the group. And I guess if you move around like you do and everything, you learn to fit in.
You learn to fit in, and I was excited to meet the group because it sounded interesting the way Ted described it.
Yeah.
And it would be people my age, and maybe I could meet someone, make friends, who knows. You just never know. You got to
Yeah.
get out there and meet people.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. And this is part of how we do that. You know. So, my wife and I have been married 7 years, but I've been in Austin for 35. She's been here 12, and we met in the neighborhood. You know, it just worked out. So she started the Wisdom Crew.
Really?
Yeah, she was.
Interesting.
We were on TV. We did an ad for AARP, and the guy who owns the pub saw it, and he came to us and said, "Y'all live in Miller, right?" We said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, I'm opening a pub there. What can I do to, you know, get it publicized?" And she said immediately, "You can give seniors a discount."
Oh, good point.
So he said 25%, and I said, "John, you can't do that. You can't. You're in the business of, you know, making a profit. You got to make a profit to survive." He says, "But y'all can come in when nobody else is there, and I've got staff there, so I want to cover at least that much. So I'll give you a 25% discount." So Thursday from 2 to 4 is 25% discount for us. After a year, we had brought so many people and so much business in that he came back to us. We didn't ask for it. He came back to us and said, "Okay, it's 25%, 24/7."
Oh my goodness.
So every day of the year, you've got it. Just have a card. And so we went to the other restaurants and said, "What about you?" And I know you can't do that, but what can you do? You know. And so one restaurant says, "Well, on Wednesday before 6:30, it's 10% on the whole bill." Another one says Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, it's 15% on the whole bill. On Tuesday, it's 10% on the whole bill. And so they do what
they've
they
all
can
got their
to
own-
get on the card.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's gotten to be a good thing. We've signed up 217 people,
Nice.
you know, and it's they're not all active. Some of them have passed on. Some of them have moved away, but it's amazing how often that card gets used. And just at BD Riley's, we've got one guy that pointed out to us, he's there a lot because he's a Liverpool fan, and BD Riley supports Liverpool. And he pointed out to us that he saved over $700 in 1 year at BD Riley's alone with
Oh,
that
that's
card.
Fantastic.
So I thought maybe the card ought to be $100 instead of 20. But the 20, you know,
And that goes into your
the
kitty.
20 just Yeah, it prints the cards and laminates them. Basically, that's
yeah.
that's what it does. So, we're not making money on it, but we do run it through a nonprofit.
Nice.
So it's a great thing for the community, and that's part of what this place is. And you, in your job, you've got to be walking into communities all the time.
Exactly. In fact, when I was up in Georgetown, I went to look at they have various different senior living situations. Some are like apartments, and others are like whole cities, like Sun City.
Sun City, yeah.
So I just wanted to go see how other people live, and I was just amazed at what you can do at our age and what facilities are available for people.
Yeah.
So I was at the Hacienda on Williams Drive,
Okay.
which is a fairly new retirement community. Very nice, with a beautiful restaurant in there. And just by doing a tour there, I got invited to tacos and tequila with some really fancy chef from Dallas. It was great.
Great.
And I met a whole bunch of more people from Sun City.
Yeah. My wife and I are actually involved in a program with Texas A&M about intergenerational communities.
Now, I'm really excited about those concepts. I think there's a lot to be said for mixing it up generationally, and our society in general tends to keep people segregated.
We tend to, and people say, well, grandparents don't want to have kids running around and making all that noise. Well, some don't, and they can go to Sun City, and that's great. But the ones who do can come to places like Miller, and we've got a little bit of everybody, and this is a good example of it. Here we are sitting in the shade talking, and we are mature adults, sort of, and we're right next to this really neat park with toddlers playing in the park. And those are little ones. Yeah.
Yeah, those are obviously pre-kindergarten.
Yeah. And the Thinkery right there. And, we've got a middle school in the community.
Oh, how lovely.
Yeah. And we've got kids from here ride their bikes and walk to the middle school. Wow. Yeah.
That's nice.
So
and I think intergenerational communities are very rich, and I think that they should be encouraged.
Yeah, we do. We're actually presenting next Tuesday morning at Texas A&M about the intentional intergenerational community here in Miller. We've only got 12 minutes to talk about it, so we got to be quick.
Got to be quick.
Yeah, there's a lot more to be said than 12 minutes. Yeah, but it's a dream of ours to see it happen. Get a really nice community center here, which we don't have.
Oh, you don't have that yet?
We don't have.
Yeah, that's needed.
We really do. I think it's important to have a place where people can go and you can have two people sit and talk. You can have a group of people do yoga. You can have people do whatever. Have a potluck, but just a place in the community where you can go do that. And it's not exorbitant, because there are places in the community we can do that, but it gets expensive. So
yes, you need definitely a community center, maybe even with a public library in it or something.
Well, that's one of the options. Is we've got a public library not that far away, but could we do a lending part? Can they bring some books over here, or what kind of thing, and just see what we can do with it.
Wow.
Anyway, talk to me. What year were you born?
1956.
1956.
So
Okay.
that makes me 68 years old. Young.
Let's see. Yeah. Okay. All right. So well after the war, you're a baby boomer.
I'm definitely in the baby boomer group.
Okay. Because that was 46 to
46
64.
to 64, right in the middle.
Yeah, right there in the middle. Okay.
There's supposed to be 80 million of us.
And you're beginning to get old. People born in 46 are beginning to get old. Yes. How long do you keep on wandering around the country, staying at other people's places?
Oh, this is temporary.
Okay.
I'm just here for a few months to support my daughter during her pregnancy, and then afterwards, I imagine by the end of October, the pet sitting will completely die down, because I don't think people move too much between the end of September and probably next March. People are back here for school or jobs or whatever they're doing. So I'm looking to settle. I think I would really enjoy living in Austin. So
Okay.
I'm taking an active role in looking around at apartments, homes, communities to see where I would fit in.
Okay. Well, we love where we are. We just moved into a condo, and we're really enjoying
Nice.
that. We'd not done that before. We'd lived in single-family homes and took care of grass and that stuff. No,
There comes
no,
a
no,
time
no.
when
Yeah.
it's okay to let the garden go.
Yeah.
I'm not quite ready for that yet because I
Okay.
love gardening.
Do you garden?
I do.
Okay. What do you? Vegetables, flowers,
The whole thing.
or everything?
I love the garden.
Okay.
Although I haven't had much chance to do it this summer, but I've watered other people's plants, and the lady up in Georgetown has this gorgeous flower bed full of native plants which attracts butterflies.
Sure.
So I get to go out and water this beautiful flower bed and see all these exotic butterflies.
wow.
So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
piece.
that's good.
But here's the thing. I found that you can actually grow all your vegetables indoors in this tower. It's a
Okay.
hydroponic tower, and I have one of those back home in Delaware. And I hope to bring it here to Texas because you can produce so much good quality organic vegetables right in your
Okay.
kitchen.
I'll have to look into that.
Definitely.
That's- yeah.
And I'm ready to start a class on teaching people how to do that.
I've got one of those things where you put water in it and it seeps through, so you can put grass on it and you can put other stuff on it that just clings to it, so
Yes.
you can grow herbs and that kind
Yes,
of stuff.
but
not
this one
not
is like
the big
6
one.
foot tall with 32 ports.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I had so many heirloom lettuces and celery and
Oh.
herbs,
Okay.
and spinach and kale, and I mean, you name it. I was growing everything in this
Right.
one tower that's the footprint of a small armchair.
Wow.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
efficient, great for apartments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it'd probably be good in a condo.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
work
would go
well in a
great.
condo.
And,
Yeah.
I had so much food. I had to give it away to the neighbors. It's remarkable. You can't imagine that these things would grow just with water dripping on their roots. But you put a certain kind of minerals in the water, and
Right.
they actually grow 3 times faster than if you were growing in
In
dirt.
dirt. Okay.
So that was a really fun project.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so the name of this podcast is Celebrating Differences.
Mm-hmm.
And so we always like to ask, there's something different about you that you really love and that has made a big difference in other people's lives. And what is it
Something different about me. Oh my goodness.
that you love?
I think it's my ability to problem solve.
Is it?
I think all of my life experiences have made me extremely creative in coming to find solutions where other people might have reached a brick wall. And I think early in life I read a book called Lateral Thinking, which taught me how to think the opposite way than normal people would think.
Okay.
And it was
We're not
fascinating.
doing this, we're doing this.
Yes, it was a fascinating book.
Okay.
Lateral Thinking, I highly recommend it. But it taught me to look at things from a different angle and see, oh, well, maybe there's a different solution instead of just like hitting it head on.
Okay.
So I've enjoyed that piece of, the way I think, and I've applied it to my jobs and to my customers and, to child raising, all sorts of things.
So do your kids like you?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
Yeah. And I respect them, and I don't bother them too much. They've got their own lives to live, but I enjoy visiting them and spending time with them.
How old are your children?
They're all in their 30s, except the baby. He's 26.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I've got a 27-year-old grandson.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have my last kid at 42, so.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
My last kid I had at 29. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So lateral thinking. So a problem solving. Okay.
I think that's what helped me figure out how I was going to stay in Texas and support my daughter.
Oh.
It's like, there must be some way I can
Must be
serve the
some
community.
way.
Let me
Okay.
figure this out.
Okay. So you see this as serving the community?
I do. I've been able to help a lot of people take care of their animals while they go away on holiday, and save them a bunch for not having to pay. And it's provided me free accommodation
Sure.
in exchange.
Yeah.
And the icing on the cake is I've met so many wonderful people.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Ani and I we were in between, and we actually stayed at Ted's house and Allison's house for a while and took care of their animals while we were there.
There you go.
But it was about a week.
Oh, so
Yeah,
you've been there.
just
You
about
know
a
what
week,
it's
yeah.
like.
And it, you know, we had the upstairs office and everything. It was really cool to have that set up.
And their dog is so sweet, and
Oh,
so
yeah.
cuddly.
So, yeah, and Ted is on the board of our nonprofit. So we've known
That's what I heard.
her.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's they're good people. Ted's background is interesting too. He's got a bicycle background. He's got teaching background.
Well, I counted 7 bikes in the garage.
Yeah. So that's a bicycle person.
Yes.
You know how many bikes you need, right?
Yes, well, it's like fishing. You've got to have a different rod for every type of
Well,
fishing that
yeah,
you want to do.
yeah, but the number is n+1, where n is a number you now have.
And then you got to have another one.
Yeah. That's how many bikes everybody needs. Yeah,
I
n
like
plus
that.
1. Yeah.
That's great.
So that's the story in the bike community. And I got rid of all mine recently when we moved to the condo, and went to an electric bike, which I'd never had before. But it works for me. To have one bike, it's electric, it folds up, goes in the back of the car if I have to. But like I ride to work in this heat, and I get there and I'm not sweaty.
That's
So
nice.
it really works, and that's 7 miles. So
Nice.
yeah, and it's but you know,
That was
bike people.
The one thing I had to get hold of when I got here, I bought myself a bike.
Did you?
I
What'd
don't
you
know if
get?
you saw it in my car.
What'd you get?
It's just an old lady's bike.
Okay.
You know, it's at our age, you got to stay active.
You
You've
gotta
got to,
stay active.
you know.
Yeah. And that's what my doctor keeps talking to me about is, looks at me and says, how old are you? And the answer is I've been riding bikes for 70 years and did sports in high school and kept up with a lot of them and still active here.
You stay active. It's all part of
yeah.
staying healthy.
Well, and this kind of active,
Yes.
you know, let's talk, let's be involved with people. Oh, I saw something recently that you probably appreciate. They were listing the things that seem to make a difference to live a long and fulfilling life, not petering off into whatever. And they had this whole list, and right up the top, and it was a fairly big column, all these columns like this. And this is a fairly big column. It's community.
It's huge.
It's
really,
interaction. It's
well, we're
yeah.
communal people. We're not supposed to be living alone. that's why intergenerational communities really
Yeah.
make sense, in my opinion. Yes.
well, it's so good for everybody.
It is.
For the little kids to see us out being active and to hear stories.
And
wow.
that's one of the reasons why I would like to live here, just to be available to my grandchildren as they grow up, because frankly, kids grow up way too fast. And I figured I've got 5 to 7 years, he's
Okay.
turning 3 in November. So once they reach middle school, they don't care about grandparents anymore.
Yeah. But and you have stories that they've never heard.
Exactly.
You have experiences that they will never see.
I have stories that I can tell and they would be amazed to hear. And then I have stories about my parents. My parents are both British. Their childhood was during World War II.
Wow.
And they told me what it was like growing up with, bombs and, night raids and being evacuated.
Going down into the subways, yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, my dad died during World War II in Europe. So, yeah, I kind of grew up. I was way too young to remember any of that. But way too young. But, yeah. So they just the stories you have to tell, though. And we talk about technology and all that kind of stuff. And, you probably had a party line on your telephone.
Probably. Well, as a child, I remember my uncle's house was one of those ones that you just had to crank it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
One of those really old ones.
Okay, good. Yeah. Well, that predates me, yeah.
Well, that was my great uncle's house.
Okay.
But we spent a lot of time there playing with his old phone and the old sonograph.
Okay.
Which was a precursor to the record player.
The record player to the amazing computer that's in your hand we call a phone.
We've come a long way in just
Oh,
one
my.
generation.
It's just incredible. Yeah. That one of my sons is deep into that world, and the other one is a nurse practitioner. So it's really been interesting to watch that happen.
Wow.
Yeah. So, been fun. Have you got siblings?
My siblings?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a brother and a sister, both in England.
Okay, still there.
They never ventured out.
Okay.
And I came out and never ventured back.
Do you communicate?
We do, yeah. In fact, I was just in England earlier this year because my mother passed last year, and there were a lot of estate issues to put in order. So I went back and helped my brother for a few months, stayed at his house. We had a really nice time together.
Oh, great.
Getting to know each other again.
Younger, older?
He's just a year younger than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he has a very dry sense of humor. His British wit is just really fun to be around. He's all crusty on the outside and much harder on the inside.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so we had a great time. And got the property sold finally, which took a long time. The bureaucracy in Europe is unbelievable. It's even worse than here.
Even worse. That's hard to believe sometimes, yeah. Yeah, and this, trying to get anything built here in Austin is just incredible because of the permitting process.
Oh, the permitting is outrageous.
It's crazy.
With just over excessive protection of trees and
Yeah.
the tree root circle and all these other things you have to mess with.
Wow. Well, and somebody told me, and I believe it, to build this community. And you know, we started from the airport. Airport went away. We had 711 acres. We built this community. We have, by fiat, by putting this together, 400 variances from the land use code to make this work. 400 variances.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. And it's, you know, it's part of it is this lake. This is our catchment. We don't have to have, for each house, we don't have to have enough ground to absorb the water because we have a lake to catch the water before it goes into the river and into the
And
system.
this is a man-made lake?
This is a hole they dug in the ground. Yeah, this is totally man-made because this was the runway came in right over there. You've seen the tower, the airport tower, right?
No, actually I haven't. I'll
Probably
go
have.
down
It's
and
still
look.
there. But the runway started at I-35 and just came right through here. And if you were driving down I-35 when the planes were coming in, it was like, you know,
Oh, they gotta
because
touch
they
the
were
car.
right over the runway, coming into the runway. Because I-35 didn't exist when the airport went in originally. And it's, you know, I flew into here. Last plane out was 1999.
Oh, that recent.
Yeah. And so the first people who bought houses and moved in here are in that area where Ted and Allison live. And first house was occupied in 2007. So, you know, it's not that long ago.
That's not long ago
No, it's
at all.
not. Yeah. So this neighborhood is that young.
That's fascinating because it
Yeah.
seems so well established
Yeah.
already.
Well, and on this side it does. If you get on the other side, these trees are that big around.
They're still building.
They're just finishing up the last single-family homes now, which will be another probably year, and to get all those done. But we've still got 25 acres that nothing's been done on. So who knows where that's going, you know. Yeah. So, what's happened to your children's father? Is he still around?
He's still in Washington, D.C. doing nonprofit work.
Okay.
Yeah. And
What kind of work? What kind of company?
well, he works with a company called Global Peace Foundation, and they put together conferences to bring people together to talk about issues. And then
He doesn't have any big vision, does he? Global peace? Is that what you just said?
one of his pet projects within that organization is called the International Young Leaders Academy, and he's
Okay.
been running before we had the lockdown. He ran that consecutively for 6 years and gathered top students from all over the world and took them on a 2-week pilgrimage to all of the institutions that make America great, like the Senate, the
Okay.
Library of Congress, the World Bank, all of these, so that they could see and experience them. But he gave them an opportunity to speak there as well. And then they would move up to Philadelphia and study the history of the Constitution, and then they would end up at the Day of the Youth, which is in August, up at the New York,
In New York?
in the United Nations.
Yeah, okay.
And some of these people have gone on to become leaders in that community and even, official government roles. One of the gals from Paraguay is now the national youth minister.
Oh, wow.
So these people all got a very good education of how our country works, how democracy works in America, and kind of a vision of what they could bring back to their country, but also creating a network amongst themselves.
Yeah, sure. So, having grown up in England, what do you think about the American system?
It's a little hard to say because I didn't really grow up in England.
Okay.
I grew up in a third world country.
Okay.
But I guess, high school and college I was in England. I didn't really know any different until I came to America and saw how the culture here is very, very different than Europe. Over there it's a lot more entrenched, traditional. We always do things this way. Nobody questions anything. It's just always that way. Over here, this country was built on innovation. So anything's possible here. And
Okay.
That's the energy that you meet here.
Okay.
Whatever you can think of, dream it, make it happen.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
This used to be an airport, yeah. Okay. That's really neat what your husband's doing. To get people from all over the world together. Because part of it is not just learning about America, but it's being together in a group while you're doing that. And they're seeing different cultures at the same time. So
Absolutely.
Global Peace
Global Peace Foundation.
Foundation.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a nonprofit 501c3.
Yeah.
And one of the things he loves to tell the kids during this trip is, remind me to tell you what the hidden agenda is for this program. And he never tells them till the very end. And they're like begging, like, what's the hidden agenda? Can you guess what it is?
No.
He says, these organizations need to hear from young people like you. That's why I have you stand up and talk.
Oh, wow.
They
Okay.
need to open their eyes. They need to see what the rest of the world needs. They need to see what young people are expecting and want to see happen.
Okay.
Especially places like the World Bank.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the hidden agenda.
Okay. Well, and that's a neat thought, that I am ostensibly bringing these kids in to learn, but they are coming in to teach.
They are bringing something to these organizations to help them learn what they need to do for the future generations.
Yeah, but he's also bringing them in to teach us.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the big piece. I like that.
So that fits right into your theme of celebrating differences.
It does, and it's because, the name of our nonprofit is WOW, W-A-A-O. So it's WOW Inc. and wowinc.org is the website. WAAO is We Are All One, and it's really funny. We're gonna start a process of having you sit down on camera, and when I say We Are All One, what does it mean to you? And just have you give me 5 minutes of what that means to you, because people will look at me like, you're an old white guy, you don't know what that means. And I don't. I don't know what somebody who grew up as a black person in Mauritania knew. I don't know what a person who, as a black person, grew up in Austin knows and learned. But we need to be curious and learn from each other.
There's so much to learn from each other, from the different cultures. And I think I'm so grateful for my childhood for that, because when my parents went to Mauritius, it was time for me to go to school at 6, 7, 8 years,
Okay.
9, 10, 11. And there were two options then. You could go to the Catholic white school, or you could go to the regular school, which basically I was the only white kid at. And that's
Wow.
where I went to school. And so my friends where I went for sleepovers at the weekend, they lived in mud huts and they had a monkey tied up outside. That was the guard dog.
Wow.
But for me that was like, oh, that's normal.
That's normal.
You know,
Yeah, okay.
That's not unusual.
So that's another thing I want to investigate sometime, and I'd love to have another conversation with you, because we're not nearly finished, but we're going to run out of time. How do you define normal? And when you say that's normal, that is such a big discussion because it's normal for them and where they lived. It's normal for me over here growing up as a young white man in Louisiana, rural Louisiana. I was a minority. Okay, I was Protestant for one thing, and all of my friends were Catholic if they were white, and not all of them were white. And I was in a black woman's arms more than I was in my mother's arms as a child, you know. And you take that and sit down here in Austin, and East Austin was traditionally the black and Latino side of Austin, you know. And what does "we are all one" mean? What does normal mean? And it's a conversation we need to be having desperately.
We need to, because
Yeah.
I think normal is different for everybody, and it's what you're used to.
Yeah, yes. It's what you grew up as. Yeah.
So I always teach my kids, don't say that's weird, just say it's different.
It's different, yeah. I was halfway just through the 7th grade, and my parents said, "Oh, guess what? What? We're moving to Connecticut."
Oh goodness, culture shock.
We're doing what? What are we going to do? Oh, day before Valentine's Day, I walked into a brand new junior high school.
Oh, that must have been really hard.
Oh, it was, it was crazy. And I was younger than most of my class. My birthday's December 30th, so I got in ahead of myself in the class, so I was the youngest, always the youngest in my class.
That's rough.
Oh, anyway, I survived it, and had a good
turned out
time.
okay.
We turned out okay. We're still working on it, and that's part of "We Are All One." We're still working on it, and we're asking questions, and we're curious. I'm not judging who you are. I'm curious about what you can teach me.
I love that.
And you can teach me a lot of stuff if I will listen.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
So-
Being open-minded, being willing to learn, whatever age you are.
So Louise Dixon, one more thing that we haven't talked about. I just want to hear it from you, something that you think people should know. I'm not putting you on the spot or anything here, Louise.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I think it's important to make every day count.
Okay.
Don't just assume that you have unlimited amount of days, and make sure you do something fun. Make sure you do something to help somebody else, and make sure you do something to make you happy every single day. I think
Every single day.
That's what I'm trying to do, and I'm not trying to, plan ahead too much, because life happens while you're making other plans.
It absolutely does. Yeah. And it just keeps on going, no matter what we do. Yeah. Oh, I love this area so much. We're sitting here, we've got the camera out on the lake and all this, and over here there's Egyptian geese wandering through the grass, there are grackles, there are kids running, there are kids playing, and it's just a fantastic place to be. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed our discussion with Louise, and we will be back. By the way, this is episode number 101 of Celebrating Differences. So we'll be back. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow us, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's that easy.